Hello, welcome back to Sushi LIVENODING. According to November, today we're gonna be doing grain. Okay, day 4 grain. With the grain, you can do all sort of things. Some people actually prefer doing it with shaders, but I'm gonna make something like this. I think if when we are doing grains, I think it's just a matter of instancing objects like random shapes in the nutshells. So I'll probably be doing something really simple, just grain of rice maybe. Um, so let's use super ellipsoid. So let's save this very quickly. Grain rice. Can be anything, can be a little bit more random. Um, if you want random, you can use random vector and convex hull. Yeah, I've done this trick a couple of times. This one will give you something interesting every time. So it could be like a sugar cube, but we're not gonna be doing that. Let's use something simpler, super ellipsoid, okay? With this guy, we can just, we can choose a shape that's a little bit more interesting. Let's try, should we, maybe something like this resembles like a rice, more or less. I keep it low resolutions. Yeah, and now we can simply just randomizing it. Maybe like scatter it around a torus, for example. So if you have like a torus, we can scatter it, but we want to also have like random rotations. So we can use this weird nodes, vector polar input. This one will give a vector. At a glance, it looks really strange kind of node with rho, phi, and z to represent the angle. If we plug this into the axis, if we play around with rho, there's nothing happening. Phi. Oh, that's because we need to also give angle value. So now if you play around with this, you can see it's kind of rotating around certain angle, which is pretty cool. It's gonna rotate all in maybe 360 degree. If we give like a range of number, we can plug this into phi. You can see it's rotating. And also we can make it rotate in z axis, so it's gonna end up rotating in all, pretty much in all axes. So that's with number range. You can also give like a random number. So with this example, I'm really giving you a lot of examples of how to use the basic nodes in sverchok. So we can have 100 of this grain of rice, but we can have more. So for example, with the torus, let's say we want to scatter it around so it's like a shape like a donut. 512. So by default, the torus will give us 512 points to scatter our grain of rice. So this is what we got so far. I think we need to scale our rice. So scale. You can use this and simply scale by half or smaller. as long as it's covering the donuts basically. And we don't need to see the dots, so I'm gonna turn off the dots. Just gonna see the edge. And that's already resembling like a sushi rice. The next thing we need to do is if we want to make like a, if you hit bake, you're gonna end up with 512 objects, so be careful with that. You want to use mesh viewer and just simply merge all the instant objects. So if we plug this into this guy and this into the matrix, we have basically like a scattered rice objects. And if you want, you can smooth it. Here should be on by default. And so we have this. Maybe we need to have more. It's fairly random, but remember this is not instant object, so it's actually an actual mesh, and you can remesh it here. Let's say we have like 40 by 50, we're gonna have 1000. So 40 by 50. We can further randomize the points on the torus. So 2000 grain of rice could be slow. If you want to make this faster, you can use particles and instancing. So yeah, this is the random. Okay, we have like 2000 objects here, so we need 2000 random values for our rotations. Takes time to calculate. So I think normally I leave it 2000 objects will be slow if you're, unless you're using instancing, but so yeah, this is the result. And I believe you can go lower with the rice resolutions. I guess we don't worry about that too much. Let's save this and remesh. And by default, okay, remesh give you this. We can go a little bit higher. We can use adaptive, but I think the best way to get the best result is to use shader or bake this into shader. Kind of want to keep that details of the rice. And random vector or randomize can further randomize the points on the torus. You can also use scatter points on face with sverchok. So we are basically just scattering grain of rice on the surface of this donut torus. This is of course something that can be done using particles. It will be a lot more efficient if you use particles. But if you are doing it this way, for each grain of rice, you can actually randomize it slightly. I should have used instancing, I guess, but this is an actual 3D mesh. Yeah, like I said, grain is actually really interesting if you look at the grains of sands, or you can get a, like, if you use microscope and look at the grains. But normally you will never look at grains like this. You probably look at it like this. And this is something that shaders can do. All the shader artists can do sands, I think. But I like doing it this way. Right, so this is slightly more random. Yeah, I guess that's kind of like sense for me. All right, so hopefully this is useful for you. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.